Welcome to the Haymaker MMA Show with your hosts, Tanai Shah and Ian Wall.
Starts us off with a little bit of a soft one here with Eric Anders and Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart is the only guy that I know of that gets cut from the UFC, then loses a fight in another promotion, and then gets called back to the UFC after one loss in another promotion, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at the date of when that happened. It was August 8, 2020. When 2020 is in it, everyone's coming in as a replacement, you know what I mean?
Yeah, true, you're right.
When 2020, 2021, like, people are coming in from anywhere. They're we've done like a good amount right now. And we've said so many times, first time in the UFC. We've yet to see him. So,
and that's in a lot of the main cards.
Mm-hmm.
The main card spots that a lot of, you don't see a lot of them. But he's going up against Darren Stewart. The dentist is going up against Eric, your boy Anders. I love the nickname, but honestly doesn't do the most in the octagon here. Darren Stewart primarily a striker, but he's gotten a couple cheeky guillotine wins. Maki Pitolo was doing pretty good on the feet against him, and Maki Pitolo shot in for a takedown, and Darren Stewart snatched his neck up, got a nice guillotine win there. Eric Anders coming off of a loss to Christoph Jocko, who's pretty good. Previously, then had a 2-win streak against Meerschaert and Vinicius Moreira, and I think Vinicius Moreira is like one of the worst fighters the UFC's ever had in the octagon. And Gerald Meerschaert, isn't the most dangerous guy either on any given night. And then before that, had a 3-fight losing streak. And really, anytime he's fought in the next level of competition has not passed the test. Eric Anders that being.
Yeah.
But how do you see this going with Darren Stewart and Anders?
Yeah. Anders, last time he missed weight, remember that? And then his fight got canceled like the day before, obviously. He looked really weak and everything. And I don't think he's been up to it. If you look at Darren Stewart, if you beat Maki Pitolo, split decision against Kevin Holland, who we're talking about, a main event fighter right now, which was very close, dude. Darren Stewart did really well. I watched that fight, and I had money on Kevin Holland, obviously, last year. But I was a little scared by the decision. And Kevin Holland said it himself that, dude, we should run that back. That was a lot closer than it should have been, or I won, but I don't think I did enough, or something along those lines. So Darren Stewart's really strong, dude. He's hard to, be in the clinch with or grapple with too much. His striking is solid too. I like Darren Stewart in this one.
Yeah, I think his wrestling is underrated coming out. He's from a Brit, right? He's from England.
Yep.
Yeah, and he pulled out some clutch takedowns against Kevin Holland to snatch up around the late round. I agree. I like Darren Stewart in this one. Eric Anders just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah. He might be on his way out, I think, of the UFC. I hate to say it, but it's coming soon, maybe.
He's in a must-win situation, that's for sure. Manal KAPE was a previous champion over there at Risen, coming off of 3 TKO finishes. Debut in the UFC, faced a hard challenge in Alexander Pantoja. Lost a decision in that one. He did well, but it was kind of a rude awakening in the UFC. Also, you get those UFC jitters out. I think he's a guy with tons of potential, and I personally think this is one that the UFC is wanting KAPE to do well in, because I think he's at a Cameroon. Right?
Portugal.
Yeah, you're right. It's the flag messed me up. You're absolutely right. Portugal. But whatever. I still think he's a guy that the UFC has seen. They know that a lot of people in America have not seen that could have a lot of potential in the UFC. Didn't come off as spectacularly, I think, as they wanted in his debut with Pantoja. But I think they want him to get it done here. What about you?
So, Mateus got cut from the UFC, I'm looking at right now, 2018. And then he fought in Future and Brave, which he won both, and now they called him back to fight Manel. I don't like two things, actually. Mateus hasn't fought since August 30th, 2019. So that's a little bit. And Manel last fought on February 6, 2021. That's a month ago. He fought Pantoja, which was a good fight, but Pantoja won. And I thought Manel he had his moments where you can see that he's a legit fighter. He deserves to be in the UFC. Pantoja's a solid guy.
And you know what else that tells me tonight? That
Yeah.
you get a loss and you want to get back out there and avenge it, or think
that is
you
good.
could have done stuff better, and I think that's a great sign.
Yep. I do like Manel, honestly. He's very well rounded. I think he trains at AKA with Khabib and Coach Hav and all of them. So I think his wrestling's probably definitely really sharp. And then, yeah, I think he has a better all-around game. I mean, I had not seen much of Mateus, to be honest, but looking at just the last fight, what he did against Pantoja, I think Manel got it.
Yeah, and the reason you don't know much about him or haven't heard him too much is just like you said, he's really, really inactive. But one of the fights that I took a looking at that I think is a good example of how the fight might go is his Dustin Ortiz fight, Mateus that is, where he got a first round TKO or head kick to punches on the ground against Dustin Ortiz. I think that's the kind of finish they're looking at it for Manel here. He has that in his repertoire. He's a great kickboxer, has a lot of power at this division, is a KO artist kind of at this division, which is you don't really see in flyweights. And before he did anything at AKA, he was training in Brazil at the gym in Brazil, facing a lot of grapplers and submission guys. He's facing a Brazilian guy, so I think he's going to have a good read, and it's going to see that look before. Really, all Mateus has on the feet is looping hands, looping overhand rights and stuff, which is always dangerous. But Manel being a good kickboxer, I think.
Isn't it crazy how fucking versatile lighter weight fighters are? Once you get heavier, you can get away with just punching and just kickboxing or just jiu-jitsu and stuff, but these fucking 125, 135ers, they're just so well around. I was thinking about Figueiredo, power puncher, but he can still choke you out in 2 seconds. Moreno, same thing.
Pantoja, same thing.
And Manel and Mateus, same thing. They have good amount of submissions, good amount of knockouts too. Which is crazy, the skill just to look at it. Even when Demetrius used to fight, or Henry, they both had TKOs as well as submissions.
Yeah, so Henry, especially as the years
as
evolved,
a wrestler. Yeah,
he added a whole bunch to his, and it's a good line I think at -142 with Manel coming in.
Yeah.
-142 and Mateus +116.
Up next, we got a couple of featherweights. We have Dan 50K Ige, who was supposed to fight Ryan Hall, but Ryan Hall unfortunately got hurt, so he couldn't make this card. But he's taking on the Canadian Gavin Tucker. Dan Ige, obviously very well rounded, extreme couture. He's been here for a little bit now. He's had a main event with Calvin Kattar, which was pretty close. He's fought at Edson Barbosa. He did really well in that one as well. He's got so much heart. He's always trying to push forward, and he's trying to do the right thing at all times. On the other hand, we have Gavin Tucker. He's had a recent success as well against tough guys such as Billy Quarantillo and Justin James. But then he too is pretty solid on the feet as well as on the ground. This is actually a tough one to call. I feel like they fucked up Ige. First off by giving him Ryan Hall, because you don't want to fight Ryan Hall. He's just gonna submit you in no time. I don't know if you ever watched him, but he's unreal at jiu-jitsu. That's why everyone avoids Ryan Hall. And then they give him another tough guy like Gavin Tucker, who's on a 3-fight win streak. But whatever, I think Dan Ige gets it done. I think he's just fought the better guys. He's had success against them. And I think he's the better fighter, especially on the feet and a little bit on the ground as well. What do you think?
Yeah, just like you were saying about the lighter weight classes, Gavin Tucker's another guy who's and Dan Ige, who are just so well-rounded. They're not necessarily elite at any, different departments of anything, but they are just so well-rounded, and they both get after it. They both have like hearts of steel. Dan Ige, the Hawaiians always get after it. And Gavin Tucker is a guy who seems to just be fighting smarter and smarter, and he throws his punches straight. He looks crisp on the feet. He's been getting some good takedowns in the middle of the cage against the fence. But you look at Dan Ige's schedule and past fights, and you look at Gavin Tucker's past fights, and Billy Quarantillo was a great win to have. Justin James has some power in his hands. But other than that, there isn't really any notable or name fighters that you could recognize. And then you go into Dan Ige and see the test that he's kind of passed. The Edson Barbosa fight I honestly gave to Edson Barbosa.
Me too.
Marsad Bektik, he really Ige got after it, especially in the first round. Got taken down in the second round and kind of held there for a full round. Almost got arm triangled. Which I don't think is going to be a problem with Gavin Tucker because, like you said, he trains at Extreme Couture, but he's been spending tons of time at AKA with all the wrestling guys over there. So getting a ton of wrestling looks. He was preparing for Ryan Hall, so was ready for hopefully some takedowns, definitely some Imanari rolls and stuff, but
yeah.
was definitely probably sharpening his takedown defense up a little bit. And definitely a really tough one to call, but on paper, logically, I think Dan Ige gets this one done. Both of these guys are really hard to kind of predict which area they get it done because they're all so well-rounded. But you kind of got to bet on the heart and the well-roundedness of each one of them. Great matchup, but I think Dan Ige gets this one done also.
Yep.
Another good line, I think, or maybe not a good line, but closer to what I like to see with Ige at minus 150 and Gavin Tucker at plus 122. I think, if I was capping this one, I would put Ige at a more minus 200 or maybe even like a minus 175. So that's definitely one I got my eye on. For the co-main here, we got Misha Cirkunov and Ryan Spann. Misha Cirkunov, this guy's been in it for a little while, but really only times he's lost is against some guys who have some real power in their hands. But you look at his schedule too and his past fights, and you see a pattern here with tons of first round endings to his fights, whether he's winning or not. You got Jimmy Crute, first round sub, lost to Johnny Walker in the 30 seconds into the first round. Patrick Cummins, first round victory. Glover Teixeira, first round loss. Uzdemir, first round loss. Krylov, first round victory. And you can sprinkle a round 2 in here, or round 3 against Ion Cutelaba, but he either wins. Recently, all of his wins have been coming by submission, but has some TKOs in his back pocket. And then you got Ryan Spann coming out of Fortis MMA. Lost to Johnny Walker, even though he rocked him like 3 or 4 times, had him on chicken legs. And before that, coming off of a 4-fight win streak in the UFC over Sam Alvey, Devin Clark, Nogueira, and Luis Henrique. Not the best line of guys, but I think a guy coming out of Fortis MMA usually shows a lot of progress, as opposed to Misha Cirkunov is coming out of it is Extreme Couture, but it's Extreme Couture Toronto, which has not had the same coaches or sparring partners or anything like that. And I think you'll see a bigger jump in progress in fight game out of Ryan Spann than you will in Cirkunov. But how do you see this one playing out?
I think this is a really tough one to call because Ryan Spann didn't look that great when he beat Sam Alvey, and then Johnny Walker, he was a winning fight. He just made a stupid mistake. Just held on to that takedown for too long, even though he's having so much success on the feet. So that was a little silly on his part. And then again, Misha, I was going in and thinking I think Misha was gonna get it done. He beat Jimmy Crute, number 1 prospect, under 25 or 23, whatever it is. But that was in September of 2019. So that fucking ring rust, that's gonna hurt some way or the other. So yeah, I'm gonna stay away, man. I don't think I'm gonna pick this one because Ryan Spann is he's not predictable at all. Like sometimes he does really well and rolls people over, and sometimes he's doing well, he fucks up, and sometimes he just gets he gets tired or something, and then just loses concentration, ends up losing the fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I started off the exact same way. I thought watched a couple of Cirkunov fights, and thought he could be a problem for Spann. And then I watched some of the Spann fights, and Spann has gotten taken down in the open a lot, and Cirkunov isn't necessarily a guy who drags you to the cage and takes you down. And like we've seen 100 times before, just because we have two guys that have a lot of first round finishes or early finishes, I think Spann is going to come out and kind of be a little slower in the first round after the crazy ass first round with Johnny Walker, and be a little more try to be a little more patient with his stuff. But also, it's easier said than done with Cirkunov, who comes out like a bat out of hell in the first round and really does try to go for some takedowns. You don't know when he's really going for it, and your back isn't against the cage, which can either hurt or help you. But I think at the end of the day, what really swayed me was the two camps they're fighting out of. Either Cirkunov can lay on him for the whole time, or Ryan Spann also has a wrestling background before this. He's
jiu-jitsu as well. He's good.
Yeah, he's a good wrestler in jiu-jitsu in this. So I think if it goes past the first round and a half, Ryan Spann definitely has a better shot of getting this done. But I totally agree with you. I was not throwing anything on this fight. Maybe a couple bucks on a prop bet here or there. If I was going to bet on a prop bet, I would do Cirkunov by first round, or just the fight to end in the first round. Under. Or the under. Yep, for sure.
I'm sure it'll be like 1.5, right?
1.5.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the under but still, I don't think I'm going to pick a winner or even touch it, to be honest. Unless I'm doing well on the night.
Right.
Then we'll see. Then we can throw props and shit.
All right.
We finally get to see Leon Rocky Edwards enter the octagon. After July 2019, he hasn't fought since then. He's been getting so unlucky. One of the most unluckiest fighters in the UFC. Fights getting canceled left and right, getting COVID, injuries, you name it. I think that's what happens when you fucking talk shit to Wonder Boy, I guess. That's like your opponent. Something's gonna happen, man. Don't talk shit to that guy. But he's supposed to take on Khamzat Chimaev, obviously, who got really fucked by COVID. Was thinking about retiring and stuff, but then Bilal Muhammad steps in on a month's notice, or less than a month's notice, after he put on a clinic against Diego Lima, which was actually a really fun fight to watch, even though it was a decision or whatever you call it. But it was a fun fight. Bully B, Bilal, remember the name. He went in, did his thing. He has stamina for days, bro, and he's so versatile. He can strike and then shoot so quick. He just kept Diego on the fence, won everything. Showed toughness. He absorbed so many leg kicks. But now, this is a huge step up. I think Leon is very similar to Muhammad. But he's just a little better at both those things. And he's won 5-round fights as well. I don't think Bilal has that real 5-round experience, which I don't think will be too much of a problem for him, because his gas tank never empties like that. But, dude, I got to go with Leon. And I'm pissed. You know why? Because everyone was like, Leon beats Khamzat if he's going to get the belt. But does Leon get the belt if he beats Bilal? Or does he fight another guy?
They don't. I bet your bottom dollar he does not. No chance. UFC is not a Edwards fan right now, unless it's in really spectacular fashion.
Yeah, unless like he goes viral or some shit, right? But yeah, I love Bilal, man. Like he's a dog. He's the man for doing this. He's a great fighter, but just not to the level of Leon Edwards. He's not a top 5. He's a top 10 now.
Yeah, I totally agree. Leon Edwards is one of the guys that, for whatever reason, in his fighting style and everything, he just looks so professional and polished. He's primarily a striker, but he looks great in a lot of areas. I also think a big narrative going into this is, like you said, his fight with Khamzat got canceled like 3 different times. You bet your ass he was working his balls off in his wrestling defense, which Muhammad is for sure going to have to rely on in this fight, with Edwards being the I think a couple of levels better than him striking. He looks great against he has a good takedown defense, especially against the cage, because he works great in the clinch and those elbows. He's just so great at timing those elbows, and that's really primarily where Bilal gets his gets his takedowns out. He's not really in the middle of the cage kind of blast double guy. He's up against the fence, get a single, work to a double, and then get a trip somewhere. And another thing is that Bilal threw a couple of leg kicks, and RDA early had some success with some leg kicks against Edwards. But Edwards switches stance. Stance is great, and he's super. Shit! I just saw my camera went off.
It's fine. It's fine. I was gonna let you go because you're doing
well. Yeah.
And then you can put it back on.
So we saw RDA have some success with some leg kicks against Edwards in the early rounds, but he just switches stances so great that these new calf kicks and the leg kicks that everyone needs to find a solution to. And I think the next level to it all is the evolution of sport, where one thing works great for an era, and then you have to find a way to stop that. Then another thing works great for an era, you have to find a way to stop that. So I think the next solution to these leg kicks are fighters have to be able to fight in both stances, in southpaw or orthodox. And Edwards does great in that. So I can't see the leg kicks of Bilal Muhammad being a problem, or calf kicks being a problem in this one for Edwards, as we've seen in the past. And like you were saying, Bilal's just main thing is he's a pressure fighter.
Yep.
He weaponizes the pressure. But so is Edwards. And I think Bilal does the best pressure and draining people's gas tanks with his wrestling, and I don't really think that's going to be the biggest issue, because like I said, he's going to be used to Edwards is going to be ready for the takedowns as he's training for Hamzat. And then even so, when we've seen Edwards getting taken down, because he has gotten taken down a couple of times before, he doesn't just lay on his goddamn back. He's just as textbook on the ground to get up and to get out of situations as he is on the feet. So I love Edwards in this. A little steeper line at minus 250, but I'm definitely gonna drop a couple units on him.
Yeah.
Because I just think he looks great in this kind of matchup. So Edwards all day for me. Also, have you seen any of his Instagram pictures or what his body looks like right now? He looks fucking chiseled, dude. He looks ripped.
Yeah, he was in good shape.
He's really good shape.
Or that year and a half or whatever he took off, he looked fucking good. I was gonna say another good point you brought up was the generations of styles of fighting. First it was Gracie, just jiu-jitsu, submitting everyone, just pulling guard. Then it was Ortiz, just slamming people and ground and pound a little bit. And then Chuck was just sprawl and brawl. And then John and GSP were very well rounded, good everywhere. They could wrestle, they could strike with you, do whatever.
Show what you needed to do to be the best at that in that generation.